Seriously. Where's my notes? Ooh, hello and welcome. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me on this stream. We're gonna just wait for a short second while I wait for a couple of people that I want to be here before actually making the start, and while I load up Facebook on my phone so that I can check on the stream and everything like that. As always, if you have any questions as we go along, then please do ask, and I'll do my very best to actually answer as best I can. So here we go. Vicky, guys, is watching me. Superb. Okay, and that's the actual important thing for right now because Vicky asked about this. So let's mute my phone so that I don't have to hear myself talking slightly behind. Okay, so we're going to be talking about how I can find my notes, first of all. Okay, so we're going to be making click tracks, and we're going to be recording parts so that we can put pieces together. The main point of today is that we're going to do this with free software. We're going to do this with software which is going to be applicable on Windows and on Mac OS X, and it's all going to be free. The only thing that we'll be needing is the microphone and headphones for actual recording, but we're going to talk through that in a second. So let's just begin. So let's take a look. We're going to just basically be seeing my screen throughout, and we're going to be starting off by talking about the 2 bits of software which you're going to be using. So we're going to be using Dorico SE for making our click track. In fact, why don't I just stick on this? So we're going to be using Dorico SE for making our click track, and then we're going to be using Audacity for actually recording. So we're going to start. Just to begin with, we're going to be using, and let me just grab the URL for this. I've made an actual track that we're going to be making the recordings for, and it's not in a shared place. Why is that not shared? So let's just move that over somewhere to be shared. And here we go. Doopy-doopy-doop. And I'll just upload that, and Ed Truckwell likes this, which is fabulous. So thank you, Ed Truckwell. Or Truckle. We decided it was Truckle the other day, and I'm so sorry for always having mispronounced that name. So we're just going to copy and paste this. Okay, so I've just made a comment, and this is going to have the actual, so this has got all of the resources which I'm going to be using for today. So this video has come about because the wonderful Vicky guys of Harmony Comrie wants to put together some recordings. So we're just going to start off here. What we're actually going to be doing is making a version of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, which we may or may not be able to see. Hello. But the PDF for this is actually at the link that I've just set. So we're going to go to my screen, and in the center of the screen, we see Dorico SE. So Dorico is basically like a free version. No, sorry. Dorico is kind of a newer version of Sibelius made by the original team, and Dorico SE is a particular free version of it that they released not very long ago. But the main point of it is that it's free, and the only limitations that we have are the fact that we can only use 2 instruments. And luckily we only need 1 because we're only going to be making a click track. So we're going to start off with an empty project. And this is kind of also a little beginner's guide to how Dorico works. We're going to be going to our setup, and we're going to be going to players. We can have 2 physical people, but luckily we only need the 1, so we're clicking at the bottom. We're going to be going to unpitched percussion, and we're going to be going to our good friend, the drum set, because basically, to make our click track, we're just going to be making a drum beat throughout. So we're going to be making this drum set, and for right now, that's all we're going to do. So we then go to the write mode. This is how we actually write stuff out. So for anyone who's just joining us now, there's a PDF of what we're talking about. In fact, let's just load it up so that we can see quickly. So we are going to be doing the click track to an arrangement that I've just made as a demo thing of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And it looks like this. Okay, so this can be for any number of instruments. Again, I was just doing this in Dorico SE, which only lets us use 2 instruments. And this is just sort of an example. So let's look at our musical cues here. We have a tempo, it's at 108. We have a time signature, 4/4. At bar 5, it's going to change to being 3/4. And then at bar 9, it's going to change back into being 4/4. And there's also going to be a bit of a rowl. We're then going to go back to a tempo at bar 11, and then it's going to finish. So 12 bars of music at 108 BPM. So how do we do this? What we're going to be doing is essentially making a drum beat that we're going to use as our click track. There's a couple of different ways we can do a click, and just drums seem to be the most logical way for us to do it. So just to recap, we've gone setup, we've made a player, we've given that person a drum set, and there we go. So we're going to begin. We're going to talk this through. There are quicker ways to do this, but I figured I'd show it this anyway. We're now in write mode. I'm clicking on the right-hand side where we have our time signatures, and we're going to click on 4/4, so that is right there. We're then also going to set our tempo. I really like how we do our tempos here. He says, unable to find it. It is here. So what we do here is we set 108, and it's set to crotchets, and we just go create. There's really nice like tap tempo functions and stuff for that as well, so that's by the by, but you can just do whatever works for you. And then we're going to, the first thing we're actually going to do, we can see that we've got the bar numbers ahead, and what we're going to change, so this is bar 1. We're actually going to change this. This is going to be bar 0, so we're going to do a bar number, add a bar number change, and it's going to go to 0. So that is bar 0, because when we're going to be doing our click track, we're going to be having, like, we want our cue bar, we want this, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we've got bar 1. So just to kind of repeat, I've left a comment which has got a link to a OneDrive folder, and that has got the PDF that we're going to be using, which looks roughly like this, which is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Okay, so for doing this, and just to kind of show how we write notes in Dorico in general, we're going to be writing crotchets. We're going to press enter, which kind of puts us into the actual like notation mode. Now, regardless of the fact that it says snare drum, I know that a kick drum is here, and I know that a hi-hat is here, here, and here. And Dorico is really nice in the way that you see these little, in fact, let's just make that a little clearer. We've got these nice little orange markers. Those are showing the full beat, the and, the full beat, the and, the full beat, the and. So we can actually place our things. We can change these divisions by using the thing in the bottom left, and this kind of sets us up. So for example, if we wanted to just see crotchets, then you see we don't have the halfway with those smaller indents. But if we wanted to say do something in semiquavers, then we have 1E and 2E and etc, etc. For right now, we only actually care about crotchets, so we'll just stick with that. So, oh wait, we'll also call this, I mean, this doesn't really matter too much, but we're just going to call it click track making. Fine. Anyway, so we have made our bar 0, and so we're now going to make the rest of the bars. We know that this piece is 12 bars long because we've got the PDF, and that's shown us. So we're going to go to this thing here, which is bars and bar lines, and there's a lovely thing of insert bars. We're actually going to insert 13 bars because we're just going to do to the end of the piece and then an extra bar because it just kind of gives a bit of closure. So we're going to insert, And that creates them. Just because we're here and it's just kind of good for my sort of mental patterning, we're just going to put a double bar just so that we can see that this will definitely be the first thing that we do at bar 1. We're then going to end at the end of bar 12, so I'm just going to put a double bar there. It's more or less just so that we've got something for the click, but we don't really need to do that. Okay, so other things that we've got to be aware of, again, sort of on our PDF, we've got a couple of changes. So we've got at bar 5, it goes into 3/4. At bar 9, it goes back into 4/4 with the RAL, and then bar 11, we got the tempo. So we're now actually going to be writing those things in. So 1, 2, in fact, we're also, just to make our life slightly easier, going to change to galley view so that it's just one long line, because we don't really care about seeing, how it looks on the page. So we go to bar 5, we go to our time signature, 3/4. Obviously the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star doesn't have 3/4 bars in the middle of it. I just made this up to show you how time signature changes would be, and like how, tempo change would be. So changes there at bar 5, and then we go to bar 9, and it's 4/4. And then over these 2 bars, over bar 9 and bar 10, is a RAL. So again, we can go to one of our lovely little functions here, which is over in tempo. And it's not an absolute tempo change, it's a gradual tempo change. So we click on RAL, which takes us there. Click on bar 11, that's where our tempo is going to be, so the reset tempo, ka-chunk. And then a couple of extra bars have appeared. I literally don't know why those bars have appeared. I'm sure I just did something and that existed. So to delete bars, we just click them. Right. So what we have is our click, just our strong, just a strong 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what we're going to be using. So we're just going to copy this, paste it across, because that's all we need. For our 3/4 bars, exactly the same, so it's just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, etc., etc. Copy this again, and then just for closure, we're going to put a final kick drum. So you can, of course, use different sounds for this, for click drum making, but I think for click track makings, but I just feel that like drum tracks are particularly just useful for this sort of thing. Okay. So at any point, if you'd like me to explain anything, do let me know. We're just going to save this as our click track streaming example. Okay. And there we go. And that's going to be creating our click track. And so if we listen to it, exciting things. Bum 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 bum. Blam. Okay, just those sort of ideas. So as I said, obviously I've just put in the extra 3/4 weird bit just to kind of show you how tempo changes would work. The RAL, just to show you, if you wanted to change this yourself, then Dorico has all sorts of lovely little things to be able to change, how strong or weak a RAL is, for example. And so this is saying that by the end of the RAL, we'll be at 75% of the original tempo. But if we want it to be a bit more dramatic, then we might change that to 50 or whatever. And I'm just going to change everything, apparently. That was very strange. I don't know why that happened. Hello? 50. Interesting. I've had some keyboard issues today, so there might be some more. Anyway, so now there should be a bit more of a pronounced RAL. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, bum, bum. Weird things. Dorico doesn't have playback for formaters. So if you needed to have an extra bar, an extra beat of rest, then you'd need to make this into like a 5/4 bar and then actually create it. And so, we can do that. Anyway, so that's kind of roughly showing that that's going to be our click. And so then the reason that I've done this in Dorico especially is that we have a really nice way of actually making the audio file of the click track. So we can go to File, Export, Audio, and then we can click Export either compressed, which is going to be small but not sounding so great files, or uncompressed, which is large, sounding exactly as we hear it. We're going to be using the small files, the MP3s, because that's all you really need for purpose. It's just a click. So I'm going to export the drum set, and it's going to go to eDocuments, Dorico project. I'll come to that in a second because that's not actually strictly true. I'm going to go OK. and it's exporting. So now it's just made an audio file of that. So, I mean, just to clarify, if we had like another instrument like a flute, you know, and we would just, you know, actually we don't even need any notes right now, but it's still like A, C, D, D, whatever. If we were then actually exporting audio, then we could also export a separate MP3 for each of those instruments, but we're not going to. Sorry, Mr. Flute. Okay, so I just wanted to kind of explain that even though it said that it was going to be stored in E documents Dorico project, that is not true, which is really, really annoying. It actually makes a thing called flows from, and then this project is called click track streaming example. And so click track is not there. What? Where are you? Oh, that's brilliant. Click track streaming example. Is it going to be in here? Am I being really dense? This is something completely different. Oh, wow. Okay, that's exactly the kind of thing we want to check out on. So audio. Yeah. Let's just do one other thing. Click track streaming. I'm a little confused because that's in click track making instead of click track streaming example. But this is our click track. Okay, that's very strange to me. I actually don't know quite why that was the case. And I might look into that later on. Okay, so to not get ahead of myself, we have to then find our actual audio file, which is in flows from click track making. And this is not cool. So anyway, whatever. We're just going to skip ahead and just go like, yes, this is definitely where it should have been. Apologies for that. So we have now covered the making of the click track in terms of the music. You know, we've made our drum part. It's got all the things we can put in extra little cues and stuff like that if we need to. Now, we're now going to go to Audacity. Audacity is free audio editing software. It is brilliant at editing audio, and I use it on a very regular basis. It is not the greatest for recording, but you can use it for recording, and it's free. And it's cross-platform, which is exactly why we're going to use it. So what we're going to do, we have exported from Dorico as an audio file our click track. And we can now go here, and we have our click track. So if we listen here, you know, and that's the actual thing. So our performers are going to be using this to actually play along to. So a couple of quick things that we're going to do as soon as we've done that. First of all, the names are very strange, and they're just kind of quite long. Even though it's called click track streaming example, flow 1 drum set, we physically can't see that unless we go into name, which is insane to me. So we're just going to rename it click. That just renames it within this project. So we're also going to change this, and we're going to make it mono. So we're going to go to tracks. We're going to go to mix, and we're going to go mix stereo down to mono. And then, so that's just made it into, instead of 2 tracks, it's just made it into, instead of a left and a right, that's just made it into 1 track. Now, we're going to go into here, and we're just going to normalize it. We're going to just make sure that it's nice and loud. You know, just so it's just a bit beefier. And if you were then sending this out to other musicians to record stuff, that's pretty much all you'd need to do. And what we can then do is do export as MP3, and then we can just export this with some really nice examples here. So this would example be, you know, Twinkle click track. And then you can set your metadata, which we'll not do correctly because no one ever does. All right, so, and then we would have Twinkle click track. And that's what you could then send over to everyone, you know, to record their parts and stuff like that. You know, MP3s, obviously. So that's literally like half a meg, which is ridiculous. But if you don't have, and this could obviously be used in any software like GarageBand or Logic or Cubase or whatever like that. But if you don't have that kind of software, then you can actually record into Audacity. I don't necessarily recommend this. I've had some really weird issues with it, but we can still get it to work. So I'm just going to quickly show how. What we're going to do is we're going to set our recording device. I'm actually gonna set the camera, the microphone from my webcam rather than the one that I'm talking into. There's really weird streaming reasons for this, but so the microphone will sound different. So we've set this microphone, we've set it to mono because there's only one channel. We're not taking a left and a right now. And we're gonna click here and notice, oh look, it's coming out. We're getting actual like levels. So what we're going to now do is I'm going to repeat my incredible performance, pretty much just for Daisy, who complimented it of the amazing, the wonderful Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. There's really odd things that happen here about recording and it's starting from the end point of the previous track. So what you generally have to do is click here, which is skip to home, or skip to start, which is the home button, and then to go and shift record, and that definitely starts on a new track, and it definitely starts at the beginning. I've had to do some weird experimentation that I wasn't that expecting to have to do. So yeah, anyway, so now we'll record. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. You know, and that's the exact, thank you, Daisy. So yeah, it's exactly the right idea there. So again, we have this kind of recorded. It's also kind of nice when you are recording to be able to see your click. So for example, Ritz and Rals are pretty decent for that. In general, a little bit of advice, if you are doing bits which slow down, something I should have done is probably put extra like hi-hats or something like that on the quavers so you get more of a sense of the subdivision. So instead of like bum, 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 to get the bum, 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 so you've got more things to hold on to in general. But that's an example there. And just for the sake of right now, I've also, and sorry, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star no longer exists for this version. I've actually, I used the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star score that I had, Scar Store, and I just exported the audio of what the clarinet and the flute parts sound like of the arrangements that I made. So again, this is all, I made a comment at the beginning of this, which has got all of these materials in it. So it's got the actual score, which we've been using, which is this one, which is just like something I've thrown together for this example. And then the actual clarinet and flute parts. So this now, interestingly enough, does not start from where it should do because I forgot that I'd added on an extra bar of click track. So I'm now going to have to move this and hope that this works. And it does. Cool. Okay. I was really, really worried that I just messed it up. Okay, because we'd started our click track early, but my score starts from bar 1. The click starts from bar 0. So the audio wasn't actually right. So what we've actually just done, I mean, this is actually pretty useful. Oh, with what? Yeah, Daisy, we're all about lyrics right now. Okay, so we can use, I mean, any DAW can do this kind of stuff, but we can move our audio to where we want it to be. And we want it to be starting at this initial click. So we're just going to zoom in just to make sure. Okay, cool. And you see we're slightly ahead. So there you go. Right, so again, the naming is terrible. And this is the clarinet, so we're just going to call it cla. And this is the flute. So this is what you want. Yeah. Is it easy to move? Yeah, absolutely. So moving is literally just hitting F5, which is the time shift tool, and then just grabbing like the parts you want to move and moving it. Yeah, just be a bit careful about that. But that is absolutely fine. So for example, this will now sound like this. Well, obviously it could have actually been like more like, you know, let's start from the beginning. Which is obviously like the greatest thing ever. Okay, cool. So we're just going to kind of repeat this. Your general recordings will pretty much always be mono. So let's just change that so that it is. Tracks mixed to mono. And same thing. We could have literally just done that together, but we didn't. Okay, cool. And we're also just going to, for the sake of like levels, there's like a, if any sound engineers were watching this right now, they would cry. But we're just going to normalize everything. Yeah. So yeah, so now that hilariously is just making everything just a bit louder. Well, considerably louder. So we might actually just drop that back a little bit and just normalize it to, say, -6. -6 seems like a good amount. So on a really lovely little, thank you, on a really lovely little note, my phone just told me I could no longer use Facebook because I set an hour limit on it. So midstream, it was like, do you really want to be checking out Facebook right now? And it's like, I absolutely want to be checking out Facebook right now. Okay, so we've just done this, moves, zooming in rather than actually moving, F5 to actually move stuff. Oh no, we're trying to move everything now. Come on. How do we do? So Audacity occasionally causes me a little bit of grief. I'm literally just trying to select things and it is not letting me, which makes me cry a little bit. Come on. Are we not going to be okay? Okay, let's do this. There are many, many better programs to use than Audacity, but again, this is free. So yeah, there we go. And then, so we're selecting everything and then we're just going to move it. Let's just zoom in again. Okay, and F5 to move it. So F5 for our time shift move. And there we go. And so. Oh yeah, and then I changed the RAL, so hilariously that will now be broken because I made the RAL more extreme in the click track version. But still, let's imagine that was actually real musicians actually playing that. Yeah, so then so if you had recorded all your parts separately, if you'd recorded your clarinet, you recorded your flute, then you would just do what I did. So you import your files, you know, exactly like this. And then if we're going to make the actual track, which is the whole point of this, we then just mute our click. We might even actually get rid of it. In fact, you know what we're going to? Yeah, we're going to get rid of... no. I wonder if this is possible, actually. I'm pretty sure this is. But yeah, we're just going to select all the stuff we want. I think this works. Going to go export. Export selected audio. And it's going to be twinkle. So twink. Fine, we'll go twink, twink. Twink, twink, flute clap. Will be mixed down and exported as one mono file. Okay. Okay. And then, twink, twink, flukla. So let's make ourselves a new little project here. Audacity is also just really, really good for just seeing audio files. It's what I use for everything. And then... like that, okay? And that's how we could put those things together. So obviously that's a digital thing, but we're assuming that you guys have recorded each instrument separately. And I believe that's basically everything to explain. There's all sorts of little subtle nuances within Audacity and within Dorico and stuff like that, but that's kind of the long and short of what we're trying to achieve. Yay! Okay, so Vicky and Daisy, since this is literally for you two, do you have any questions that I can answer? Yeah, I know, right? It is absolutely stellar version of Twink Twink. Stellar indeed. Yeah, so yeah, just to recap on what we've done. All of this stuff, so this arrangement is in the folder that I've shared the link to, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And we've dealt with making click tracks out of drum parts, using Dorico SE, which is free to do that. We've done time signature changes, we've done some RALs, we've done the tempos, we've done cues, we've done making sure that we can actually, like, you know, record alongside it, even just using free software like Audacity, and we've also exported that. So I think we've got the entire process down on film. If you guys have got any questions, do let me know. And I will keep the stream open for like the next 10 seconds, or if you guys can just give me some emoji to kind of represent that you're okay with this, or if you've got any more questions, that'd be fab. An emoji of success would be tremendous. That's what we're kind of aiming for. Can you get Dorico and Audacity on an iPad? Great question. You cannot, that I'm aware of. I don't think you can get Dorico on. You certainly can't get Dorico on an iPad. You can probably get Audacity on an iPad if you were going to. Oh, for sure. Yeah, those are two really good questions. Okay, so Daisy, if you're only going to use if you've only got an iPad, then there's other notation software like Notion. And basically all that we're doing is making a drum track, which matches up to what you'd want as a click track, and then exporting that drum track as an audio thing. So realistically, you could make what I've done on Dorico with any notation software you'd like. And if you've got an iPad, instead of using Audacity, you could just use GarageBand. So because all you're doing, I mean, strictly speaking, if you were just doing this on an iPad, you could do all of this in GarageBand. But I'm just trying to come up with solutions which don't because GarageBand can only be used on Mac things. Vicky, guys, when you normalized it, is there a best number to go for? Oh, superb. Thank you, Daisy. No, what a great question. So in general, I would probably go for when you've got component tracks, a -6 is a good amount of headroom. We could go along all sorts of kind of mixing and mastering kind of things, but just as a good rule of thumb, I tend to go around -6 for the component parts. And then, say for example, this being the final mix of all the instruments, then I'd probably, just as a quick rule of thumb, again, sort of normalize this. I mean, because we're aiming for a peak, of around, so what would 0 be? Because this is basically 0 right now. Because if you could, once you've got all your instruments, if you then normalize it up to 0, but if it's clipping, so clipping is where the waveform goes over what it's allowed, and it'll sound it'll sound really, really terrible. I mean, worse than this, if you can imagine that. Then you want to avoid that, so you'd kind of normalize slightly less. And again, this is any sort of sound technician would basically yell at me for this kind of stuff, because there's all sorts of really intricate rules. But normalizing to 0 once you've got all of your instruments together is a pretty good rule of thumb. So I just took it up to -6 because it's just kind of -6 is all right, and then -0 is kind of what you're aiming for. I think, and I mean, I have done projects where I've just picked basically -1 or -3, just kind of gone with it. I mean, I think that, no, actually, sorry, an even better answer is going to be to compare the volume, compare how you perceive it, how loud it is compared to other files. I mean, we look at this, and then the good rule, I don't know if I've still got it, but the rule of thumb for looking at waveforms, especially once they're finished, because this is the finished product, and I think this will basically just make you two happy, and I think I might have got rid of it. Yeah, I always use Dancing Queen. I always look at the waveform of Dancing Queen when I see okay, so how loud can we go with these kind of things? And because this is, punching 0, and obviously it's, 0 is kind of the most that we want it to be. So Dancing Queen, when I look at that kind of waveform and I compare, it's okay, cool. So we've got a good amount of headroom, but we know what an absolute banger that is. I'm not going to play it for copyright reasons, but so yeah, something in that kind of world. And again, every mix engineer in the world is pretty much yelling at me internally. Okay, cool. Do you have any other questions you might want to ask? And Daisy, I appreciate all of your emojis. Yes, Vicky, yes. Philip Michael is watching. I'm about to finish. Exactly correct. So, Phil, I'm basically wrapping up now, but there is an entire video worth of glory for you to check out if you're interested. Any other questions, guys? Cool. I'll wrap up in that awkward way where I'll start saying that I'm going to finish, and then if you happen to be asking any questions in that time, then go for it. Did you say that? Yeah. So this video is now saved. To quickly show you, because I did this video about it yesterday. That's like, Daisy, that's a really good question. Let's go here. This is my screen. And though I can't zoom into it. You can see that this is what's capturing everything. And I'm streaming to Facebook Live. And I'm also recording the video so that I have the video file. So that I could then put this up on YouTube, or that, you know, even if it's just as a private thing, so you could share it around the other people of Harmony Cymru, then that would be absolutely fine as well. So yeah, it doesn't just have to be attached to my page. I can either post it up on YouTube as a link for you guys, or I could just send you the video, whatever you guys want. But like, it's a really good way of keeping, like, yeah, so there is the Facebook Live, which can be accessed, and there is also a local copy of the file. I think everyone is just learning this stuff, and like, you know, in the past week I've had to learn a lot about how this kind of stuff works. But yeah, cool. Any other questions? And then I think we'll wrap up. Okay, thank you very much indeed. And yeah, best of luck with everything. But if you can think of anything else that you'd like to know, I will happily answer that whenever you need. Okay, so I've been Rich Jackson. Thank you ever so much. And have yourself a most wonderful evening. Bye, guys.